Okay, hello. Our next video, continuing along in this module of the MP curve. Next topic here is the monetary transmission mechanism. And this is, how does monetary policy work? It works, but exactly how? What is the transmission between changing the money supply and the economy, real output changing? This is not well understood. What we know is money is not neutral, definitely has an effect on the economy, but just how isn't clear. Okay, if this was a money and banking class, we could go through a dozen different ways as to how it might work. I don't know if any of them are right. There may be additional channels that we don't know about, but it would be a good thing to know, because maybe sometimes it won't work. What if it doesn't work? Well, we really need to understand how it works in the first place to figure out when there might be times when it doesn't work. We don't want to be in a bad depression and find out, oh, Keynes was right. There might be times monetary policy doesn't work. So Keynes's thinking was that changes in the money supply would affect the nominal interest rate. He saw that in England. Every time the Bank of England changed the money supply, it changed interest rates. And he figured that changing these nominal interest rates would affect investment spending. Lower rates, cheaper money, makes a lot of projects more profitable, makes it cheaper to buy a home, so forth. And then that would affect aggregate demand, C plus I plus G plus net exports. Now the traditional view now is very similar. We'll call this the traditional view. Although remember, like I said, there could be a dozen different ways that this could work. Is that the money supply, probably the real money supply, affects nominal interest rates. And that affects the real interest rate. And it's the real interest rate then that affects investment spending, which affects aggregate demand. So a slight difference. The model that we'll go through, the IAS-MP model, relies on this, that money works this way. That by changing real money supply affects real interest rates, which affects investment spending, which affects aggregate demand. Now, how does the Fed then affect real interest rates? You know, the federal funds rate for their policy instrument is a nominal interest rate. So the federal funds rate is nominal. The 10-year T-note is a nominal interest rate. So how do they do it? I mean, they can change nominal interest rates, but how do they change the real interest rate? And they can change the real interest rate because remember the Fisher equation, I equals R plus pi. The difference between the real rate and the nominal rate is inflation. And inflation is slow to change. So both inflation and inflation expectations are slow to change. So we can write this as I equals R plus pi, or I equals R plus inflation expectations too. So if inflation is very slow to change, I'll just put a bar over it, saying it's essentially fixed in the short run, the very short run. That means that If the Fed is able to lower the nominal rate, then the real interest rate is going to have to fall too, because inflation is not going to change. And likewise, if Fed raises the nominal rate, then it's got to change or raise the real interest rate also.